welcome and welcome back again to my channel. So in today's video I'll be showing you how to make this milkmaid dress. So I have been seeing this going around and I really love it. I don't really wear so many dresses because I've never really found one that was my style, but this right here is just my style and I'm loving it so far. So yeah, if you like to see this, then please stay and watch, and let's just jump right into the video. So the first thing I'm doing right now is I'm going to start creating my pattern for the bust area. And so what I'm doing is that I'm going to divide my bust circumference, so my bust area, by 4, and I'm going to multiply that by 1.5 or 2 inches, by 1.5 or 2 rather. That way you get a larger fabric to work with to create the ruffles for the bust area. So like I said, you could go in with 1.5, you could go in with 2. So just note that the longer the fabric, the more ruched up it's going to be. So yeah, after doing that, I'm just going to connect all the dots together. Okay, so now what I'm doing is I'm going to create my measurement for the armhole. So this is not going to go from my shoulder to my underarm, so it's just a fraction of it. So that's why I am measuring out 2 inches on both sides, and I'm going to use this to just connect them together with a curve rather, and I'm just going to trace out all that. So make sure when you're doing this you leave like half an inch seam allowance to connect this to the dress. Okay, so now I'm just going to start creating the pattern for the entire dress itself. So I'm creating that line there to be my starting point for the under bust. Okay, so I took the measurement for my under bust, divided it by 4, and I took my measurement, and now I'm taking the measurement for my waist. Make sure you divide it by 4 to get the measurement. So from my waist to my hip, I'm taking the measurement right there, and from my waist to how long I want the dress to be. So from my waist to the length of the dress was about 32 or 33 inches, and that is how long I wanted it to be. So I was going for like a midi dress. And yeah, so after doing that, you're going to measure out how wide you want the dress to be, and you divide that by 4, and that is going to give you your measurement right there. So now that you're done calculating all that, you're going to just connect them together using your ruler. So after doing that, I'm just going to kind of eyeball it in terms of creating the curve right there. And it wasn't perfect, but it will do really. So yes, after doing that, I'm just going to now measure out half an inch. That would be my seam allowance. I find it easier to do this on the pattern as opposed to creating the measurements after that, because it makes it easier and the measurement is evened out for all the fabrics. Okay, so after cutting this, this is the fabric I'll be working with. It's this really beautiful fabric I've had for a while and just didn't know what to do with, and I figured I'll just use it for this because it is so flowery and it's not too bright. It's just toned down the way I like my colors to be. Okay, so now I'm just cutting out the fabric for the front, and I'll cut out the fabric for the back as well. So for this, I'm going to be creating the sleeves. So because I didn't have enough fabric to work with, I had to create the sleeves in such a way that I made half of the sleeves this and half of the sleeves a black satin. Okay, so for this it was 20 inches long and 5 inches wide for both of them, and I just sewed them along that line right there. And yeah, so now I am going to create the fabric for the back, or the pattern for the back, that is going to connect to the front, the bust area. You'll see what I mean in a big. So because like I said, the fabric wasn't enough for me, I had to improvise. So this part right here is going to be a black satin fabric as well. So you want to fold the fabric into two when doing this so that you have the entire back. So now that I'm done doing that, this is what I'll have two of this, one of that black right there. So for this black, I'm going to connect it to the back of the fabric and just sew along the line right there to just connect it to the rest of the dress. Okay, so after connecting that, I'm going to fold the top right there to conceal the edges, and I'm just going to hem that. So now that I have already cut out the fabrics for my bust area, what I will do is I'm going to fold them together, connect them, and I'm going to show you what I mean in a bit. So I want to have like some sort of space. Excuse the noise out, it's been raining all day and I just need to make this video, so if you hear any thunder or anything, please ignore that. So what I did was that I used the tape roll to measure how where I want to start sewing from, and I pinned all that down. I'm just going to sew all that down like so. So after doing that, this is what you'll have, two fabrics put together. Okay, so now I want to fold the top right there because I'm going to want to pass a strip or a strap through it. So in order for me to do that, I need to create a casing for that. So I'm just folding that down right now. Okay, after sewing that down, you're also going to sew at the bottom as well with a loose stitch so that you can create your gatherings or your ruffles. So this is the fabric I'm going to use to create my straps. What I'm doing is I'm going to fold it like so, like you're creating a bias. After folding it like so, I'm going to fold it again to create one small strip. Then you're going to sew along that. So I would advise you make this about 1.5 to 2 inches so that it's easier for you to work with. If it's smaller than that, I feel like it will be difficult for you to fold the fabric to work with. Okay, after doing that, this is what you have. So I'm going to cut that into two so that I can have a strip or a strap for both sides of the top. So after doing that, I'm going to now create my gathers or my ruffles so that it's the same measurement with the under bust of the dress. So what I'm doing right now is finding the middle or the midpoint of this fabric right here, and I'm going to connect it to the middle of the bust fabric so that it is evened out on both sides. Okay, after connecting that, I'm going to now put in the straps for the top part of the fabric. So I'm using a loop turner in doing so. You can decide to use anything you want to just push in the straps into the casing, but a loop turner is easier for me. Okay, so now that I've connected or put in the straps for the top, so I'm going to connect the bust fabric to the rest of the dress right there. Then I'm going to sew that. So after sewing that down, I'm also going to sew both edges or both sides of this fabric together. So now after doing that, I'm just going to start working with the fabric for the sleeves. So I'm going to find the midpoint for that. Then I'm going to put this pattern I made for my bust there, and I'm just going to use that to create the armhole curve right there. So after creating that, I'm now going to connect the rest of the line to that, and I'm going to cut off the fabrics we do not need. And you're going to do this for the second fabric. So after doing that, this is what you'll have. So what I'm doing right now is I'm putting an elastic band on one side and I'm putting it on another side as well, on both sides of the fabric, so that I can sew them down on my sewing machine. So before I sew it down on the sewing machine, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold the edge, because we do not want that rough edge showing. Since I'm not creating a casing for it, I'm just going to sew it directly onto the fabric. I'm just going to fold the edge right there and pin it down, and I'm going to start sewing. So for this, you want to make sure you're using a zigzag stitch, since it's an elastic band, so it can stretch. And you're also going to do the same thing to the bottom of your sleeves. You put basically the same thing I did. You get the circumference of your arm, then you sew that down with an elastic band, then you connect it to the fabric. So I went ahead to put in a zipper right there, because the dress was obviously too tight, and since it's not a stretchy fabric, I needed to put in a zipper. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a slit in front. So depending on how long or how short you want the slits to be, it all depends on you. So I wasn't going for something so long. I wanted something just a bit above my knee so I could wear it to any occasion. And yeah, so after doing that, you're going to sew the edges down like so. Fold them down and sew on both sides. Okay, after sewing both sides, then you're going to sew the top where you stopped cutting at, and just sew it down so that it doesn't end up just tearing from there. We want to prevent that from tearing from that place. So yeah, after doing that, you're going to now hem the bottom of the dress. So after sewing down the bottom of the dress, this is what you will have. I really love it. I don't have anything like this in my wardrobe. I really do not have so many dresses in my wardrobe, and that's because most of the dresses I see around aren't things that I am a fan of, and the ones I'm a fan of aren't close to where I live. So being able to make my own is so amazing. And please keep in mind that I am self-taught, so I'm sure some of my methods are not the conventional ones. But yeah, this is basically it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.